Essential Care's competitive advantage is waiting for you with AIM's Mike Anderson and NGL's Mike Simenstad. This is Jordan, the marketing coordinator here at AIM. Today's webinar will be recorded and then later posted on our website. This does mean that all attendees will be automatically muted so that we get a quality recording. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat box and we'll try to answer them throughout the presentation. But if we're unable to get to all the questions, we'll have a member of our marketing team reach out to you individually to make sure you get that answered. Before we get started, we'd like to invite you to join us for our next webinar on Tuesday, February 25th at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Join Nisha Catron for Expanding Your Portfolio, Selling Accident, Critical Illness, and Disability Insurance. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mike Anderson so that we can go ahead and get started. Take it away, Mike.
Thanks, Jordan. I always make a point of reminding everybody that Jordan's the person behind the curtain. She makes a lot of this stuff happen magically for us, whether it's creating the actual webinars and the invitations that go out. She takes care of getting the recorded versions of this website or these webinars hoisted up on our website, available for you to circle back and listen when you want to catch up or reiterate a particular point, those types of things. And that technology stuff will take place later today after we finish with that. I'm really happy that Mike was able to join us today, Regional VP there at NGL with their Essential Care product. He's going to talk about some of the things that are going on market-wide and how the things that the market has learned about the customers and processes and such, how that make it a better market today than it's been in a long time. He's also going to spend some time and talk about some of the very unique things that Essential Care brings to the market that makes it easier for agents to help clients out. So with that, I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Simenstad, and he's going to take us through it. So Mike, it's all you.
Hey, thank you so much, Mike, and hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope you had a great long weekend. And what I'm going to do for the next 35 minutes or so, and then, of course, I'll take questions, but this is going to be not your ordinary, product presentation. In fact, I'm not going to talk about directly the NGL product till the very end, in which I'm going to talk about NGL's sweet spots that everyone should be aware of and what sets NGL apart in the traditional long-term care space. That'll be toward the end. But I'm going to dedicate the bulk of this presentation to talk about traditional long-term care in general and its spot in the world of long-term care solutions, and specifically go through a little bit and take a little bit of a dive into the lessons, right? The learning curve that the traditional long-term care industry went through in the 90s and early 2000s, and then explain how the today's traditional long-term care insurance is stronger than ever. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, and I think a very good place to start. And of course, Mike, if you have any comments, of course, please interrupt me and and go in. But I think a good place to start is the fact that right now, I think, is the best time ever to be talking about long-term care solutions with Americans. Both from what the messaging is to consumers, and both what the product, the solutions offerings are today. And with that, obviously, the need to plan today is greater than ever. All right. And rather than just go over this, every point on these slides, I think it's pretty obvious that the general messaging here in America, especially with the change in presidential administrations, is that, hey, the United States of America is not the same as Norway, Denmark, or Sweden, a lot of these countries where you pay 85% taxes and you're covered health care wise cradle to grave. Nope. Here in the great country of America, the big message is they're cutting back. Right now, a lot of Americans, when it comes to long-term care, they still believe Medicare or that other thing beginning with an M, Medicaid, is what's going to pay for their long-term care services. Well, as we all know, changes are coming, especially the cutbacks in Medicaid. And I think the overarching message, and is clearer than ever from the United States government, is that when it comes to certain things, don't depend on the government, especially when it comes to long-term care. Right? Here in the United States of America, who pays for long-term care? You do. Right? We all know Medicare never was designed to pay for long-term care services. Medicaid is basically the de facto national long-term care program in which the copay for that is 100%. But even above and beyond that, who knows with all these cuts that are coming if Medicaid will even be for those who do a 5-year look back period and plan for Medicaid. Who knows what the future of Medicaid planning is if you can do that anymore. So, overall, I think the overarching message is that in the United States of America, you're on your own when it comes to long-term care. Right? Have a plan, or don't look for America. Don't look for the government really to help you. And over and above that, listen. People are seeing it with their own eyes. People are going through it. Going through their own long-term. People are living longer than ever, and they're seeing people. They're understanding what the consequences of an unplanned long-term care event can be. And people really, every single year, polls show the number one reason people plan for long-term care is so they're not a burden on their family, and the number two reasons people plan is to avoid going into a nursing home. So I think the messaging and consumer awareness is greater than ever. And I do think that the LTC solutions market is greater than ever. Now, I know Mike will agree with me when I explain that. Listen, it's not the long-term care insurance market anymore. It's long-term care solutions, of which traditional long-term care insurance has an important part of. The LTC solutions market is greater than ever. There is a plan, a solution for just about everyone out there. It is very expansive. All right. You have multifunctional life insurance products. You have all sorts of different types of solutions out there. And there's a fit for everyone. And the good news is that all of these solutions are solid. They address a certain niche market, and specifically to traditional long-term care insurance, which I'll get into this, is I think still is unnecessarily gets a bad rap. But the carriers, the 7 traditional carriers that are out there today offering products, they're more stable than ever. The products are absolutely more stable and reliable and predictive than ever. And the fact that they went through a learning curve, and I'll get into that in a little bit, is the greatest thing that ever could have happened, because these products are stable and all priced based on true, actual long-term care experience data. But how does that relate back now? So we know the facts. How does that relate back to consumers? Because, we know we know that today's consumer, right? They have the world at their fingertips, and we all, talk about, and many of us joke about, hey, everyone's an instant expert on just about everything because we have the tools to do our own research, right? And people are going through it. The overarching message people are understanding. and people are starting to realize that, geez, long-term care is something I really need to plan for. And most people, they come to that conclusion based off of personal experience. So, what do today's consumers do? Well, they do their own research. They bring out their laptop and they do internet searches for long-term care insurance. They speak to their financial advisors and planners. They talk to people they trust. They look at media personalities on CNBC, maybe, or Susie Orman, whatever it may be, to find out what they think. And they go out and do their own research. And when they do their own research, even though they may think, all right, well, let's go pricing for long-term care insurance. It's all the same, right? Let's just, go do our price and product comparisons, line them up on a spreadsheet, and figure out what is the best value for us, right? That's how you start, right? Well, it sounds pretty easy, but geez, it is not that easy. Products vary incredibly now, like I mentioned. Now you have hybrid life insurance products, and even within that category, you could break it down into subcategories. Do you want a linked benefit? What type of life insurance, right? Or is it a hybrid you should look at? Or if you have health issues, whatever it may be, should you be looking at short-term care insurance? And what's the deal with traditional long-term care insurance? What a lot of people usually do when they do, let's say they do a Google search for long-term care insurance, normally they go down a rabbit hole. And that rabbit hole is, hey, hybrid products are very much en vogue because, hey, you have the best of both worlds. If you never need long-term care, well, look, you got a life insurance benefit. Even though you may already have your life insurance needs taken care of, hey, look at that. If you never need long-term care, well, life insurance, boy, that sounds great. Boy, what type of price? So that you can go down a whole separate category and go into complete analysis paralysis with all the hybrid products that are out there, right? So based on all this research people are doing, what are people's outcome usually? Well, I'll tell you, most people, the outcome is to do nothing. And why is that? Now, let me ask you, Mike and Jordan, can you see my slide on here?
Switch back to the main slide with the previous slides over there on the left-hand side. So you're going to want to change that.
Am I? So do you see? So let me just roll it down here because I think something happened on my end. I'm seeing. Okay, so you see. What slide do you see right now?
The entry slide, past lessons.
The entry
slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got switched away from the. Yeah. There you go. Got that.
Okay,
but you still got all the preview on the left side. So go ahead.
All right. You can see it?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. You see, all right, thank you. A little technical error there, probably my fault. Sorry about that. But here we go. And based on people's research into long-term care, what are they coming up with? Well, all right, so they go down the rabbit hole of hybrid products and they look at, all right, multifunctional life insurance. That certainly sounds interesting. Oh boy, what's happening to my presentation here? Okay. That's interesting. What do I do with boy, look at how much it costs. Why do I need life insurance when I just want the actual rider? Do I need an annuity? Why do I need to come up with a lump sum? And then of course, traditional long-term care insurance, that sounds like, probably what I need, because what I'm looking for is, the most long-term care bang for the buck. But what's the deal with that? I like the pure protection, but it sounds like, based on my research I'm doing, that the companies just continually raise rates till I can't afford it. So what am I going to do? You know what? Most people just decide, I'm just going to self-insure. How do I do that? And if you ask me, there's really no such thing as self-insuring. I think really it's self-funding. Now, what do you do? Self-insuring implies that you're going to go out and invent or create an insurance pool with a group of people. So most people, after doing their research, they get confused and misled and decide that, you know what, I'm just going to self-fund for my long-term care. But here's the problem. Here's what people don't understand, is that traditional long-term care insurance, yes, those old policy forms, which were originally priced off, largely guesswork, yes, those earlier policy forms were mispriced, of course, underpriced, and those old policy forms are currently undergoing rate adjustments, of course, in the form of state approved, state by state increases, right? Let me walk through this, and Mike, feel free to add anything you may want to add, but I think this slide right here, if you see it, paints a pretty good picture of where we are in today's long-term care insurance market and why today's today's offerings are more solid than ever. So, I'm not going to go over and do a year by year deal on, the history of traditional long-term care, but essentially long-term care insurance was born in 1974, but it wasn't until the mid 80s that comprehensive long-term care insurance was launched. And by comprehensive long-term care insurance, I mean coverage that pays for facilities, nursing homes and assisted living facilities, and home health care, right? And that's when it really took off in the late 80s and early 90s. My God, you had a ton of carriers getting into this market, and long-term care insurance was largely marketed as a way to plan for your future nursing home costs. And I'm talking 100% of your costs, right? I mean, it was a very, and I know, many of you probably know this, but most of the products sold were lifetime benefits, a daily benefit based in your, exactly of the average nursing home cost in your area. And the vast majority of inflation options that were sold were 5% compound, right? And sales went nuts, right? And, unfortunately, this was a time where, all right, this is a brand new product, very similar to how disability insurance went through its learning curve in the 1980s, that, all right, this is a necessary product, and people sold the hell out of it. And the whole notion of morbidity underwriting, the whole thing, it was all new. Underwriting for this product was all brand new. The biggest thing was, we need to have some sort of assumption of the percentage of people that are going to lapse this product. And the vast majority of carriers said, well, geez, let's equate it to, term life insurance in the world of life insurance. And with those products, about 12% of the people lapse, which was the lapse assumptions most carriers used for their long-term care insurance. All right. So after a good, 10, 15, 10, 12, 15 years of going great gangbusters in long-term care sales, in 2002, the returns came in to the for the carriers, and carriers started realizing, oh boy, the amount of claims we thought and a lot of these assumptions we assumed were going to happen were way off. We need to start making adjustments. And in starting in the early 2000s, specifically right around 2005, between 2005 and 2012, carriers really understood that, boy, we were way too aggressive in our estimates on this type of product, and they started increasing the rates, which were necessary, at least asking for permission from the states, and there was an exodus of traditional carriers, right? And as you can see by the curve on here, sales went down, right? Because the implication on here was that, wow, you know, this product, it doesn't work, which couldn't be further from the truth. Now, another thing, and I will say this was a self-inflicted wound on behalf of the traditional long-term care insurance industry. Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, I think it was strongly implied by the carriers and the agents that sold it that these products would be guaranteed, right? The rates would be guaranteed, and there would be no rate increases. To a large part, I think it's because of the confusion that agents had with the fact that these products are guaranteed renewable, meaning as long as you pay your premiums every year, the carriers cannot take your policy away. I think a lot of people once said, hey, look, guaranteed renewable. The word guaranteed in that strongly implied that these rates were guaranteed, when in fact, listen, this is health insurance. Health insurance rates can and usually do increase, right? But let me fast forward a little bit to where we are today. So in 2013, hybrid products gained a lot of steam, mostly, especially because of the rate increases of those old policy forms and the bad public relations. Then in 2016, National Guardian Life finally came into the market. And I'll say finally because now I'll start shifting over a little bit to National Guardian Life and talk about today's traditional long-term care product. But National Guardian Life is a very conservative Midwestern carrier. For a long time, they wanted to get into long-term care insurance, but they realized, listen, just like disability insurance, there's going to be, was in the 80s, there's going to be a learning curve. And we want that learning curve, that industry learning curve to be over with. And we want our long-term care insurance product line to be from the get-go adequately priced, not just adequate, I mean solidly priced based on actual true experience rather than any guesswork. And we don't want to have to be burdened with old underpriced books of business. So after that learning curve, NGL entered the market. And here we are today. It's 2025. You now have a very robust and again expansive long-term care solutions market, and of which you have 7 carriers selling traditional long-term care insurance, which still holds a very powerful and necessary niche in the world of long-term care solutions. And I should say it's interesting to note that out of these 7 carriers that are currently selling traditional long-term care insurance, if you have bought a product through any of these 7 carriers since 2012, you have had no rate increases. All right, so policy forms bought by these 7 carriers that are the market today have not had any rate increases for people that have bought in 2012 and beyond. So I will say, so what has changed? Again, the lapse rates. Carriers learned their lessons, and now products are priced usually using the actual persistency experience. No more guesswork. In fact, I can tell you that with NGL, our anticipated lapse rate is, used in our pricing is 0%, right? 0, which is very close to, the under 1% that experiences showed that persistency rate, right? So, with these products, less than 1% of the people lapse. Again, those old policy forms were anticipating 12% of the people to lapse. and also today, carriers, they expect and they're planning for and they're pricing for a very long, sustained period of low interest rates. In addition, morbidity, it's higher than expected, right? People, the miracles of modern medicine truly are bigger miracles than the carriers thought in the 1980s and early 90s when this product first came to fruition. So carriers now enjoy, a very, a large, large morbidity tables when it comes to long-term care pricing. And I will tell you another big thing, and especially for those who lived through the 90s in this business, and just kind of like raising your eyebrows at some of these cases that carriers approved. Listen, underwriting, well, I will say underwriting is, when it comes to long-term care insurance, getting it is the tough part. You have to be healthy. But that's part of what carriers learn. You have to, for this to work, you got to be healthy. No more business decisions that sunk a lot of those carriers, right? When I say business decisions, there are a couple carriers that said, hey, if you're a group, for every 10 10 regularly underwritten applications that are approved, you get a freebie, right? A guarantee issue. Again, none of that today. That clouded, in fact, infected the risk pool for more than a couple carriers, and a big reason why a lot of those carriers exited long-term care insurance. So here's the basics of today, right? And I don't know what's going on with this with my slideshow here. This is what drives me nuts. But let me get back here to. There we go. All right. So here are the facts today. The views of long-term care insurance, and again, when people don't do their own research, they see this, rate increases. Well, and of course, listen, there are a lot of financial advisors, because that same reason, have a very big hybrid or bust attitude when it comes to long-term care. And a lot of people are saying, sorry, but a hybrid product is, a multifunctional life insurance product. Well, it's, I'm sure appropriate for some people, many people. For me, I just want the most long-term care bang for the buck. And a lot of, financial advisors are saying, sorry, but, I can't recommend it because of those old policy forms. But here are the facts. Today, products are priced based on actual experience data. And, and products bought today, right, because of the accurate pricing and rate stability guardrails that we haven't even mentioned that a lot of states have implemented, the odds of having a rate increase on a product bought today are incredibly slim. In fact, I would say that out of all the types of health insurance you could buy, today's traditional long-term care insurance, you probably have the least chance of having a rate increase out of any other types of health insurance. And this is a fact for consumers who want the most long-term care benefit dollars, right, for the least amount of outgoing premium. Well, traditional long-term care is their best bet. I mean, it's just the best solution for them that's available. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit, and that's where NGL comes into play. So I already went over the NGL story about what sometimes it's good to be late from the game. Our risk pool is clear. As we're not no legacy risk pools to manage. A very clear, pristine book of business from the get-go, accurately priced, as I said, prudent underwriting, priced on actual experience data from the get-go, and assuming a 0% lapse rate. What's nice is, compared to the other 6 carriers in the traditional space, NGL can say that, yeah, we've never raised rates, nor do we think we'll have to. I mean, yes, and it's a fact, you'll never see a guaranteed to never increase traditional long-term care insurance product out there for many reasons. But hey, if I had to bet, I don't think, in fact, tell you the truth, I think with all 7 of the carriers out there selling traditional long-term care, I think I'd be willing to bet, if you bought a product starting today for any of those 7 carriers, you're very, unless something catastrophic happened, very unlikely to see a rate increase from any of those 7 carriers, to tell you the truth. So let me zero in a little bit on the NGL product and what are the sweet spots with NGL, right? I'll tell you this, and a lot of you may know this already, but when it comes to NGL, we are known as the traditional long-term care solution for couples, right? Especially couples that are close in age, because NGL has somewhat of a unique policy offering in that for couples, we sell a joint policy. Now, does that mean you have one pool of money for a husband and wife? No. It's a policy, but a husband and wife have their own separate pool of money, right? They're the same benefits that they each have, but their own separate pool of money, but it's one blended premium for a couple. All right. So instead of having, let's say, a 15 or 20% couples discount, here you have a blended rate for a couple, one premium for 2 people. So one cool thing about that I will mention is that that gives you built-in spousal waiver of premium, right? Which means if one spouse needs care, let's say the husband needs home health care and has to, goes on claim, that means the entire premium is waived for both of them, for both the husband and the wife, because it's one blended premium. If, let's say, one spouse passes away, then the ongoing premium in all states but California, of course, California is different a little bit because it's an older version of the product. It's not the 1.5 version, it's the 1.0 version. But in all states but California, if one spouse passes away, then the surviving spouse's premiums are reduced, but the amount for which it's reduced and that ongoing premium for the surviving spouse is listed and shown on the illustration and our quote system. So that's a known going into it, which is really nice. And then over and above, just when it comes to comparing prices and looking at the true value of the premium for a couple, I will tell you this, that it is very, for couples that are close in age, under the age of 70, it's just you can't beat the value in the premium. Is the bottom line. In fact, in some cases, especially if you get into the late 50s, early 60s, it can seem like, if you're doing your pricing, almost a buy one, add your spouse for free, or very close to it. So that is the sweet spot for NGL. I'm going to get into a little bit, and some of you know this, but this might clarify a few things. One of the unique options with NGL is its shared care rider, right? It is what it is for couples. If you want a little bit of extra peace of mind on there, you can opt to have this shared care rider. And what it does is, unlike most other carriers in which it builds a bridge between one pool and the other, what it does is this one, the way this rider is created, it provides a shared third pool, right? Tangibly more benefit dollars, right? That's equal to each other, to the pools that each other, the spouse has, right? So it's a whole third pool of money that's there. So theoretically, The husband could use up, let's say, our most popular plan design is a 3-year plan, maybe $200 a day each. So a 3-year plan with that shared a third 3-year plan. So theoretically, the husband could use his 3-year plan. And then, boy, he goes through his own pool of money and he's still alive and still needs care. Well, rather than having to uh, dip into his wife's pool of money, right? Her 3-year plan in which she's siphoning benefits that she may need in the future. You can go into that shared pool, right? And use as much as you want from that shared pool of money. Now, let's say he uses, a portion, all or 3/4 or none of it, whatever it is. Well, that spouse has the peace of mind knowing that when she, upon, let's say the husband passing away, she still has her entire pool of money left, and whatever is left, or maybe the whole thing of that shared pool, right? So that's there, and that's unique in the industry. And like I said earlier, if let's say the husband passes away, and he never needed to use any of the policy or the third pool, or let's say he used a little bit of his plan or none of it all, right? He went through and he was provided a lifetime of peace of mind and never needed long-term care. Well, the wife, and this is a good story to tell, especially for couples, people like this. It's like a small little survivorship element that's built into the policy. Well, if he passes away, the surviving spouse is essentially left with a 6-year plan because she keeps her own pool, 3 years plus the full shared pool, 3 years, and her premium goes down, right? So it's a nice story to tell and very unique in the industry. And also it is what makes NGL competitive, very competitive, in the traditional LTC space. And here's just an example, right? A 55-year-old couple, and this is, I will say the sweetest of sweet spots. If you look at, you really dive in and you look at the long-term care benefit dollars that are available and the premium you pay for a couple. Wow, right? I mean, and these rates are still current. You could look at NGL, right? A 55-year-old couple, the combined premium, right? About $63.77 for a pool of money, or total long-term care benefit dollars on day one, right? And this includes 3% compound inflation. This on day one. The long-term care benefit dollars you have are almost $660,000, whereas carrier A here, you're paying more premium for less benefit dollars. So that is NGL's niche in traditional long-term care, right? More long-term care benefit dollars for the least amount of premium, especially for couples. And it kind of goes hand in hand in what traditional long-term care is for. And I will tell you, in the last 2 years, the sales for traditional long-term care insurance with all 7 carriers have been going up, right? And I believe it's because people, like I said earlier, are realizing that long-term care is something they need to plan for. And a lot of them are realizing that, there are solutions out there that they can afford that address their true concern, right? Which is, to have a plan together in case long-term care is needed, right? And, the fact that there are hybrid options out there and different types of solutions out there are fantastic for people for whom it's appropriate for and who want that type of solution. But, I'm going to end today by saying, listen, today's traditional long-term care insurance market is better than ever before. So with that, I am going to open it up for any questions. And Mike, please, go ahead and add anything you would like to add. And I apologize for the little slide issues we had before.
No problems at all. Thanks for making your time available for us, Mike. I don't see anybody typing anything into the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. If you individually muted yourself, you'll have to take care of that. I always ask, as I'm doing this, that you individually mute if you're not going to ask a question, so we don't have the dog barking at the Amazon delivery guy or the tea kettle whistling or whatever. Some key pieces that Mike covered and we've tried to stress this a lot over the last year and a half, 2 years. The long-term care market is vital and viable, and the awareness on behalf of the people age 55 and above is as high now as it's been for a long time, most of which we attribute to the fact that they've begun to have their own personal adventure with the cost of care and such, because Bob Davis's dad or Carol Davis's mom or whoever had to deal with it. So they have seen what it's about. They have seen what it costs, and they are looking at themselves and realizing this is something that they haven't addressed up till this point in time. They need to address that. And so they're leaning in. But it still comes down for most agents to just simply asking a question, which is, can you sit down and talk with them? It's still a 2 pennies on the dollar proposition. So it's not crazy expensive, and it doesn't have to be, $9,000 a month out of a pool of 400 grand. Trust me, and anybody who's actually dealt with this or worked with an agent dealing with this, I can tell you unequivocally that any plan is a good plan. All right. $5,000 a month out of a pool of 180, slowing that flow of money out of their retirement plan, that will go a long ways towards easing the stress that they've got. So somebody poked their heads in. Let's see. They're looking for a copy of the slides. I'll have to run by that with Mike and find out whether these are consumer available. The problem with slides is that the agents can't help using them in ways that don't have the compliance approval. Speaking of compliance, our marketing team will be reaching out to everybody on the call later today. Job number one with this is getting yourself appropriately licensed with the carrier in the state that you're in. There are just a small number of states that don't have partnership requirements. However, if you have a non-res license, you're going to need to honor those partnership requirements, but the carriers require that you be fully licensed to be able to be out there and be representing their product in any state. So that was I'll get an answer back, and then the individual agent that submitted that question, I will get back with you and let you know where you're at with that. So with that, and as we get around towards a quarter till, one more run for questions. Quick reminder, the next webinar on tap next week on the 25th, always 9 a.m. Pacific time, is going to be Nisha Catrone and talking about expanding your portfolio and the benefits of taking on additional products, working with your clients on these additional products to create that additional, I use the term, that additional stickiness. So, all right, well, looks like we don't have any more questions, Mike. That's the webinar equivalent of a one-hitter that you threw. Very good. We appreciate you making your time available to help us out with this. We will get it processed. Jordan will take care of the technical behind the curtain stuff. Have this up on our website probably later today or first thing tomorrow. So, all right, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Mike, thank you so much. I'll be in touch later on to catch up on a couple of things. Jordan, thank you for your work behind the scenes. And thank you, everybody, for making part of your morning available. We look forward to talking to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.